Chapter 2, The Reckoning. The system's reply was blunt. Allison Rockefeller remains a virgin. Oh. Now that was interesting. Carl looked down at the woman struggling in his arms and smiled coldly. She knew a lot about the inner workings of the matter. A shame that Carl she knew was dead. Old Mr. Knox was aging, with 3 sons. The original Carl, though the eldest by his first wife, was sickly and had no aptitude for the martial pursuits valued by a Southern family that glorified cowboy grit and military honor. He was not his father's favorite. That distinction fell to his second brother, Aidan, born to a mistress. Young Aidan had already earned his stripes, and their father's esteem in the family's security company, which was, in essence, a private military contractor. The third brother, Lucas, posed the greatest threat. He was the firstborn son of the current Mrs. Knox, the old man's favorite, and most formidably, his maternal uncle was Samuel Clay, a heavyweight in the U.S. Senate. Allison's father was the sitting Senate Majority Leader, a pillar of the Eastern political establishment and a close ally of Samuel Clay. This marriage was, in reality, a deal brokered by 3 parties: Old Man Knox, Senator Clay, and Senator Rockefeller. The terms were simple: Allison marries Carl, and in return, Carl voluntarily renounces his claim to Oakwood Manor and the primary family trust, clearing the path for Lucas. Old Man Knox didn't want the scandal of openly disinheriting his first wife's only son. Senator Clay wanted his nephew to inherit the Knox fortune and political clout. And as for what Senator Rockefeller wanted, Carl wasn't sure yet. But a man of his stature wouldn't be in this just for the trust funds and real estate. That, however, was a problem for later. When a prime cut of steak is delivered to your table, you don't send it back. Since his birthright was as good as lost, he might as well accept this compensation, the stunningly beautiful Allison Rockefeller. His grip on her tightened. His hand moved to cup her cheek, his eyes glinting with a new, dangerous light. You're well informed, Miss Rockefeller. But you should know this: every socialite from Dallas to DC knows you married me tonight. And you are mine to do with as I please. Allison flinched, startled by the sharp intensity in his gaze. This was wrong. Carl was supposed to be a weak, ineffectual bookworm. Everyone in Washington knew that. The way he had always looked at her was with infatuation, with pathetic yearning. Why did his eyes now hold such aggression, such menace? You're not Carl. The words burst from her. Carl's mind raced, but his expression remained impassive. If I'm not Carl, then who am I? Allison was speechless. Right. Who else could he be? Yet she couldn't shake her confusion. It was his face, but the man behind it was utterly different. The old Carl, even with the heir's title, had scurried through life like a frightened mouse. The eyes looking at her now held a lurking lion. I am Carl. And you, he said, his voice low, are Mrs. Carl Knox, wed to me legally and before witnesses. He began undoing the buttons of his dress shirt, one by one. And I intend for you to fulfill every wifely duty. Starting with our wedding night. Allison's eyes widened. Her hand flew up in a furious slap. Carl caught her wrist effortlessly. Let me go. Carl, if you touch me, I swear I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life. She struggled, panic rising as she realized she couldn't break free. Of course she couldn't. Carl had 2 fingers locked on a precise pressure point in her wrist. Allison froze. This man, wasn't he a feeble scholar? Where did this strength, this skill, come from? Her flawless face was a mask of fear and fury, but rendered immobile by his grip, she was powerless. Carl leaned close, his breath warm against her ear. Still fighting? Still planning to wound your husband? The time for that is past. Tonight, you are mine. A shiver ran through her. For a fleeting second, her eyes showed pure alarm. His breath tickled her ear, drawing an involuntary blush to her cheeks. But she clenched her jaw. You're insane. Let me go. Ignoring her protests, Carl gently traced the line of her jaw with his thumb. You married into the Knox family, Miss Rockefeller. You are my lawful wife. The wedding night is not optional. How dare you, she spat, furious. If you lay a hand on me, my father will destroy you. He'll make you pay. Carl laughed. Make me pay? I'd like to see him try. I wonder if he'll still want to when you're handing him his first grandchild. He gave her no more time to argue. With a deft flick of his fingers, the delicate strap of her wedding gown slipped from her shoulder. Allison tried to pull away, but weakened and pinned, she could only watch as the priceless, custom-made gown slid down. Carl, you'll regret this. Her voice was tight, tears glistening in her eyes. Regret? He laid her gently back on the crisp new sheets, a smile of dark satisfaction on his face. The only regret would be letting a prize like you slip away. The candles burned low, their light casting intertwined shadows on the wall for hours. Allison's struggles and curses faded first into stifled sobs, then into ragged breaths and the occasional, unwilling gasp of pleasure. Carl, however, showed no sign of tiring. Over an hour later, Carl took a sip of water and turned to look at Allison's back. Her smooth skin was marked, her shoulders trembling, with tears or rage, he couldn't tell. Sleep, he said flatly. We have to pay our respects to my father and stepmother in the morning. Allison didn't reply, burying her face deeper into the pillow. Carl closed his eyes, unconcerned. The senator's daughter had been enjoyable. But now was not the time to lose himself in her. The Knox empire glittered with wealth, but it was a nest of vipers. His father wanted him gone. His brothers watched, waiting to strike. Political and business factions saw him as a pawn. A weak, sickly pawn? He thought with a cold, inward snort. If you're all so eager to play your games with me, don't be surprised when I start playing my own. Just before dawn, a faint sound of weeping woke him. He opened his eyes. Allison was sitting up, knees drawn to her chest, crying quietly. She wore only a thin silk robe. The marks on her neck and collarbone were visible, her hair a tangled mess. She looked utterly broken. Seeing him awake, her head snapped up. Her blue eyes were bloodshot, blazing with pure hatred. Carl Knox. I hope you rot in hell. Her voice was hoarse. You'll get what's coming to you. I swear you will. Carl sat up and began buttoning his shirt, unfazed. I'll be waiting. You think taking my body means you've won? She hissed through clenched teeth. When he comes back, he'll make you pay for this. He'll avenge me. Him? Carl finished with his cufflinks and turned to face her. A harsh laugh escaped him. You really think an ambitious political star would marry a woman who's already been someone else's wife? Wake up, darling. You can forget your little first lady fantasy. Allison stared, frozen. Then, the color drained from her face. What did you say? How do you know he's in politics? How do you know about his ambitions?